Welcome to this explainer. We usually picture reading as this quiet, totally solitary thing. But today, we're diving into some wild science that shows reading a book is actually a profound, high-intensity social workout for your brain.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the social fiction paradox, look at exactly how we measure theory of mind, compare literary versus genre fiction, dive into the scientific evidence, explore teaching emotional intelligence, and wrap it all up in the final chapter. Let's get right to it. Section 1. The Social Fiction Paradox.
Okay, so think about it. Is reading truly a solitary act? We almost always picture it as an antisocial, isolated activity, right? You curl up in a corner, alone, kind of cutting yourself off from the world. But what if a book is actually a high-tech flight simulator for human social interaction? Cognitive scientists are finding out that when you get lost in a great story, your brain isn't just passively absorbing words, it is actively simulating social experiences and navigating complex relationships right from the inside out.
To really grasp how this simulator works, we have to talk about something called theory of mind. This is basically the cognitive ability to infer, explain, and predict the behavior of others based on their hidden intentions, knowledge, and complex emotions. It acts exactly like an emotional muscle. It's what lets you realize a friend is upset even if they've got a big smile on their face, or predict what a coworker might do next. And engaging with fiction, well, it turns out it recruits and flexes this exact same cognitive ability.
And get this social workout actually started around 1 million years ago. Early humans figured out how to control fire, which artificially extended their daylight. And what did they do with that extra time? Anthropological research shows they didn't just do more chores, they gathered around the fire and shared stories. Fast forward to the modern era, and we see the rise of print fiction, simulating those social worlds. Today, cognitive science is actively testing how storytelling impacts empathy. We swap the campfire for paperbacks, but that deep cognitive need to map out our social networks, that remains completely intact. Moving along to Section 2, Measuring Theory of Mind.
So how exactly are scientists testing this invisible mind-reading muscle today? They use some pretty rigorous modern cognitive testing. For instance, there's the Reading the Mind in the Eyes test, or RMET, which literally asks people to match complex emotions just by looking at a picture of someone's eyes. There's also the DANV-2, AF, for analyzing nonverbal accuracy, and the Yanni task, which tests first and second-order inferences. Oh, and to measure how much fiction someone actually reads, they use the author recognition test. By correlating our reading habits with these tests, researchers can basically score your social cognitive strength.
Which brings us to Section 3, Literary versus Genre Fiction.
Now, you might be wondering, does the specific type of book actually matter? Yes, absolutely. Not all fiction gives you the same workout. Popular or genre fiction focuses heavily on plot development. It's highly efficient and relies on these prefabricated archetypes, meaning your brain can just coast and enjoy the thrilling ride. Literary fiction, on the other hand, is character-driven. It focuses on psychological complexity and constantly disrupts your expectations. You really have to grapple with unpredictable characters and ambiguous motives.
To put a metric on this difference, linguistic analysis reveals that literary texts contain much higher markers of something called reflective function. Think of reflective function as the heavyweights for your theory of mind muscle. It involves sophisticated awareness of multiple possible explanations for a character's behavior. The text forces you to build incredibly nuanced models of a character's mind. It's a serious workout for your cognitive gym.
Let's dive into Section 4, the scientific evidence.
All right, let's look at the hard flight data. Take a look at this force plot of meta-analytic results. It perfectly visualizes the positive effect size of fiction on social cognition. Each of those lines represents a distinct study, and if you notice the shape of the data, there's a really clear trend leaning to the right. That rightward lean indicates a positive effect size. It's concrete proof that people who read fiction consistently perform better on theory of mind tasks compared to those reading nonfiction or nothing at all.
But wait, how do we know researchers didn't just cherry-pick the successful studies? Well, scientists use a funnel plot to assess publication bias and check the precision of standard errors. The idea is really simple. Larger, highly precise studies should scatter tightly at the top, while smaller ones scatter widely at the bottom. Because we're seeing this nice symmetrical funnel shape, we know the findings are robust and represent a true underlying effect, not just a bunch of low-powered, biased data.
And this meta-analytic results summary really hammers it home. It breaks down all the experimental variables, comparing publication status, sample types like MTurk crowdsourcing versus college students, comparison groups, and different dependent variable formats.
What it proves is that this psychological effect remains completely significant no matter how you slice the methodology. Whether it's performance-based objective tests or self-reported data, the positive effect of fiction on social cognition holds up. The data is just incredibly consistent.
Next up is Section 5, Teaching Emotional Intelligence.
So how does all this complex adult cognitive testing translate into a training academy for kids? Educators are actually using these exact psychological concepts right in the classroom to build emotional intelligence. First, they have students shift their point of view, like reading The Lightning Thief and then retelling a scene entirely through Annabeth's eyes. Second, they have them write diary entries for secondary characters. And third, they constantly ask, "What if I was in this situation?" to prompt self-reflection. It is literally training that reflective function we just talked about.
To see this in action on paper, check out this Feeling Detective worksheet focusing on the classic book Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. This gives us concrete visual proof of how primary school kids are taught to decode body language. They have to look at the character and infer unstated emotions based on a slumped posture or facial expression. It's mirroring the exact same cognitive processes that adults use in the raw mat test.
Taking that training even a step further is this feeling hunt chart. It literally tracks character emotions, how they show it, and exactly when it happens in the story. It forces students to hunt for textual evidence of changing emotions. By doing this, they are directly and actively training their theory of mind from a very young age.
And finally, Section 6, the final chapter.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but the crucial point to take away is this idea right here. Storytelling isn't just simple entertainment. It is a hallmark human activity deeply rooted in our evolutionary history, and reading fiction can be an exercise in advanced theory of mind. Engaging with these complex narratives is fundamentally about practicing our ability to understand the intricate external networks of humanity all around us.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder. Next time you read a book, whose mind are you really exploring? Because when you sit down with a complex, character-driven novel to simulate another person's social reality, you are ultimately expanding your very own capacity for empathy in the real world. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep reading and keep building that emotional muscle.